Good day, my name is Chirizi Mabungu from Chirizi Mabungu Financial Literacy Foundation. In this episode of the Financial Literacy Corner, we are going to tackle growing your wealth. The last episode we had, we focused more on the budgeting side of things, where we lay a foundation. Now that you have gone through your budgeting process, you are now understand how budgeting works. You have also taught your family members and yourself how to budget, and that habit of budgeting is becoming part of you. You now start seeing that there's some money that is left whenever you look at your budget at the end of the month, you are having a surplus. But then what do you do with the surplus that you have? Do you just spend it on something else? That is where growing your wealth starts. And that is where wealthy people started. Because whenever they have this percentage that is left aside, when they've reduced their debts and expenses to less than 70% or around that, and they have about 20 to 30% of money that they can put away, then they start thinking about growing their wealth. And in this part, we are going to talk about saving and investing. And we're not just going to talk about investing in a traditional sense, because a lot of times we talk about things that people already know. But when we talk about investing and saving, there's a lot that we can unpack. And I don't think we can finish it today. But I'm just going to give you a glimpse of what saving and investing is about. So if you want to build wealth, you should sit with me and enjoy this corner. As I said, the Financial Literacy Corner is a corner where it's safe to come and talk about money without your friends looking down on you, without your family looking down on you because maybe you have challenges when it comes to money. And that is exactly what we're scared of most of the time when we don't want to talk about money, because we're scared that people will judge us. People will look at us and think that we don't know what we're doing. People will look down on us. When we are broke and we don't have money, people will look at us and say, I thought he was rich. But the way he's saying it now, it looks like he doesn't have. And that is one thing that a lot of people are afraid of. But at the Financial Literacy Corner, that's where you sit at your corner with me and we tackle money issues without anyone judging you. Sit, relax, and let's tackle this topic. When we talk about saving, we're talking about a topic that has been talked about for thousands of years, where people save in different ways. Previously, people will save through stock, talking about your cattle, talking about livestock, and all these things, goats, sheep, and that was their wealth. That is how they stored their wealth. And this wealth was worth a lot back then. And if you go look in different books, in different history books and different religious books, you hear of people who had 100 goats, 1,000 sheep, 300 cattle, and such. Because those were the things that back then, when they talk wealth, they talk about agricultural wealth. And they used to talk about hectares of land that a person owns. And that is how wealth used to be determined. But when we look at wealth today, you talk about money. You talk about assets that you can have with that money. And that is how wealth is determined today. And that is how, when you look at people who are rich, who are said to be rich or who are rich, they talk about their wealth. They talk about the assets that they own. And these assets, including the money that they have in their accounts, determine how much wealth they have. And that is exactly what we want you to build. We want to build that wealth. And it's built in two different dimensions: your savings and your investing. When you save, I've said this before, you save money from losing value. And when you save money from losing value, it means if you could buy a car with that money today, you can buy the same car with the same money next year because it kept its value. It continued to a future value with the same value that it was supposed to be having, which means you're going to be getting some interest that is enough to beat inflation or to be equivalent to the inflation rate. And in that way, you're saving money. But most of these savings accounts are accessible. So these accounts that are short-term and accessible to you, you can be able to go and get this money. And I'm not going to sit much on that because I want to unpack investing. Because I think investing is one thing that, has not been talked about a lot. And we need to start talking about investing. And not only investing in a traditional sense, investing in a way that we understand it as South Africans, as Africans. Investing in things that are practical, that we can be able to look at and say, here are my investments. So I think we need to start looking at investing in a different way. Back at home in Limpopo, where I come from, there's a lot of people who are investing in farming. They go, take money that maybe they have invested, money that they have earned, and go buy land and start farming. Some buy cattle or goats and they start farming. In that way, they've just taken the cash that they have and invested it in farming, and they are going to get a lot of profit out of that. That is investing. I spoke about franchising as one of the ways of building assets. And I think that is one place where a lot of us must start thinking of. But these are big things. These are big things that some will say, but I can't do that yet. I'm not that wealthy yet. I'm not having that money yet. Yes, of course, you may need a bit more. Or you may be in that level already. Maybe you may borrow money to do that if you can qualify for it and start to invest in bigger things. But we are now talking about the money that you have made. Let's say you have started this side hustle, if you can call it a hustle, which I don't really like, but if you start a side hustle or a small business and you're earning this extra money, you know your budget, you know you're not moving your goalpost, you're not just buying more and more expenses. You now want to invest in assets. You can be able to put money away for different things so that you don't interfere with your savings or your investments. You can save money aside so that your investments are not affected. Because what happens when a person has an emergency? You go to whoever you invested your money with for maybe 5 years, for example, if you have a long-term investment, and you say, I want my money. You go to the business that you bought shares from. If it's a small business where maybe you have a share, and say, you know what, I'm leaving. I want my money because I have a crisis. I need to tackle it. There are people who had shares in organizations that were small, and they sold their shares too early. And most of them are recreating as we speak to say, look, this is a multi-million rand business today. But when it was small, I was part of it. But I left because of emergencies. But if you can have a savings where you save money for emergencies and other things, like your vacations, reducing maybe your car installment, and other things, you can be able to keep your investments and not touch them. And when I'm talking investments, I'm talking things that will build wealth. I'm talking building assets. When we talk about assets, we're talking about things that can produce income. What is it around you or in your life that produces income besides your job? Where else do you get money besides the job that you have if you're full-time employed? If you're a business owner, how have you diversified your services or your goods to cater different clients in such a way that you have different streams of income? So in this way, you're building assets that may last longer than your life and can go to the next generation. And that is exactly what investing is about. And South Africa today is facing a situation where people don't really invest. The culture of investing, the culture of saving is not there because we live in the now. We live in the now, we get money now, we spend it now, and we'll see what we will do tomorrow. But this culture develops in a place where there are a lot of corporates, big corporates, that can employ thousands of people at once, where citizens are 100% sure that every single month there will be money that is coming in. Every single week there will be money that is coming in. And because of that, they don't see a need to put money away for rainy seasons, to invest on other things because they feel that their income is guaranteed. But a few years ago, and recently, we realized that there's no such thing as a permanent position. During COVID, people who believed that they were secured, they are working for organizations that have secured their futures, they know that they're permanent, were retrenched. People who believed that they had an income that is guaranteed were getting paid half their salary. And it just showed us that there's nothing that is guaranteed when it comes to income. They were told to stay at home. Some were told that we'll only call you back if there's an opportunity to come back. But if not, you are not having a job. And we have forgotten already. A few years later, we have gone back to the life of spending, where there's no saving, where there's no putting money away, where there's no planning for the future. But we don't know when the next pandemic is coming. We are living in a global shift where the power of the world is changing, where we talk about the BRICS, the G20, the G7, and all these organizations that are powerful and they're changing the dynamics of the economy of the world. And it's affecting jobs, it's affecting big organizations, and people are losing their jobs. And when people start losing jobs, the unemployment rate goes up. And the small opportunities that we have are fought for by a lot of professionals. We have high unemployment of our youth. The reason why we are in this situation is that we have become so reliant on government creating everything for us and we not playing any role in the life of this continent or this country. And that is where we want to start talking about saving and investing. Because if we want to have money, if we want to have assets that can be able to uplift the economy and make it easier for us to live a good life without worrying every day about what we are going to be eating tomorrow. It's important to be able to invest. So I'm saying to you, we need to talk about money. We need to start talking about investing. Where do you invest? And how do you invest? You can invest in different vehicles. Vehicles, I'm talking about things or places where you can be able to put your money away. You can go and invest in the insurance companies that we have, where you can invest in different policies that will give you interest. Some are guaranteed, some are not, and we're going to talk about that. Where you take a higher risk and say, I'm taking a higher risk because I want to get a higher return on my investment. I'm taking a lower risk because I'm scared of losing my money. I'd rather get less return on my investment. And these investments will help you in the future. Because in a few years' time, you are cashing out your lump sums. How would it feel getting 500,000 in your pocket, cash? How would it feel getting 100,000 in your pocket, cash? Won't that feel good? But because we want instant gratification, we'd rather go borrow 100,000 and pay back 200,000 than invest 100,000 and use it a bit later. And that is the mindset that we need to get rid of, where we believe that everything must be borrowed and everything must be instant. Discipline is one thing that we need as a country, as a continent. Because a lot of times, we tend to forget that it's possible to wait for whatever you want to achieve. And when you wait, you're able to invest and use the money that is your own to be able to buy a lot of things. I'm not discouraging debt. Good debt is good, and you can be able to achieve a lot with debt. But bad debt is bad, and you don't want that. And we spoke about that before. I'm not going to go back there. What I want us to tackle now is, where do I invest? A few years back, we talked about investing in different occasions. And a lot of people took that serious. And today they've made fortunes for themselves. Recently, a friend of mine asked me, I'm retiring from a certain company, and I'm going to be getting my money. What do I do with the money? And I said to her, you need to decide well. You need to decide well whether you want to put it back into a pension fund or you want to buy assets that will bring you money. And she said, let me put my money aside, let me save it somewhere and try and do my research and understand how I'm going to invest this money. So you have these different options that you have that you can invest in. And mind you, your employers do the same for you, and you don't realize it. When you get your pay slip, on your pay slip there will be deductions. Out of the deductions that you're going to have, one of those deductions will be your pension fund. One of the deductions will be your insurance. Another may be your medical aid. Why do they do that? Are they doing that because they're just doing it? They're doing that because they know that you are their responsibility at the time. They want you to be healthy, number one. You must have a medical aid so that you can be taken care of by the doctor. They also want you to be insured. In case you pass away, they should be able to give your family some money. And that is the insurance you're paying for yourself. You must have a pension fund. In case you are retrenched, in case you retire, you should be having money to survive on. But when the employer is doing all these things, what are you doing on your side for yourself? Do you rely on the employer? When you move employment, what happens to the money that they give you? Do you go spend it with friends and forget about putting it away? And these are the types of disciplines that we need to talk about. So, when we talk investing, there are those who will want to invest in stocks, where you buy a piece of a company. You can buy a piece of a company or a percentage or 0.5% or just a small portion of a company that is listed on the JSE, where you go using the right platforms, not people who are not licensed, but using the right platforms to go and be able to buy shares. And when you buy these shares may go up and down, but you need to understand that that is how things are. And with shares, you can be able to make good profit, like in a business. But there are those who are saying, I want to do it myself and invest in businesses that they start on their own, or invest in businesses that have been started by others that are smaller. Become a shareholder in that business and be able to, make money out of that and get a profit from that investment in the stock or shares. But there are those who will then go and say, I'm investing in banks or insurance companies where I just put money away for a long term and then I will get my money at a later stage. And there are those who are saying, I'm adding on top of my retirement, my pension fund, I'm starting a retirement annuity that is going to pay me money when I have retired. And they create that and invest in that. I want to tell you this scenario. Mr. X is working for company A. Mr. X is earning a salary of maybe 50,000 a month. And Mr. X has a retirement or a pension fund of 500 per month. At retirement, Mr. X retires and he lives for 30 years. If he can live for 30 years after retirement and he was employed when he was 30, that is almost the same lifespan like the time he spent when he was still at work. If he worked for 30 years or 35 years and retire and live for another 30 years, and he was putting 500 rand a month away, how much is he supposed to earn per month at his retirement? Mr. X will have to earn approximately the same amount that he has been putting away. And in such a situation, the funny part is Mr. X will be expecting a lot of money at his, during pension, and he did not invest that money. So that is the challenge that we're facing, most of us today. Most of you who are watching may be in your late 30s, your early 40s, or maybe older. Maybe you're younger. If you're younger, you might have that opportunity to start thinking about this. How am I going to survive during my retirement? How much is your social grant right now? What can you buy with your social grant if you're living in Gauteng, for example? Will you pay rent and buy food? Will you be able to even survive with that money? I don't think so. With the lifestyles that we're living, where we spend a lot of money, in 2 days, your grant will be done, will be gone. You can't survive with it. And still, knowing that, and knowing that we can live longer, people are not investing. People are not putting money away for these situations. And people are not building assets. When you're a professional, for example, like myself, who was an accountant, you will work for your period and you will retire. And when you die with your education. The people who are left behind cannot take over your education. But if you build assets through investing, you are able to leave those assets to your next generation, and they can do the same to the next generation. And when others are rich and we are poor, we wonder why. They have been building assets, and we have not been building assets. We may be educated, we may be earning a lot, but are we building real assets that can last longer than our lives? And that is why I think investing is important. We, in the future, will call a lot of people in to come and talk to us about how they invested in different things and made it. And those who failed, we'll invite them too to come and share with us how they invested in certain things and did not make it, so that you don't make the same mistakes. So today is sort of an introduction to say we cannot continue living like we don't know that there's tomorrow. We cannot continue surviving from hand to mouth like we don't know that tomorrow we need to eat again. We were hunter-gatherers when we read history. A hunter-gatherer is somebody who go and hunt for food, get the food, eat whatever he hunted, and wait for the next day. And when they wake up the following day, they do the same. And that is exactly how they survived. But people realized that this type of life is unsustainable and started living in groups where they will have fields where they have their farms, and they used agriculture as a way of surviving, where they have crops in the rainy seasons and they have cattle that they have at home and they take care of, and they look after and make sure that these cattle are fed well so that they can be able to have meat. So instead of going to hunt for meat, you have your meat at home. Instead of going to the bush to find things to eat, you can eat from your farm. And as time goes, we started processing food and doing all these things. But the behavior now of our people, especially in the African continent and in South Africa specifically, we are becoming hunter-gatherers again. Why am I saying this? I'm saying this because we survive from month to month. One reverend once asked me, Mabungu, if they can tell you at work today that this is your last month and you are retrenched, how many months can you survive without your salary? I want you to answer that question too. If today they can say, this is your last day at work, how many months can you survive without your salary? If you can't, how are you different from a hunter-gatherer that used to hunt today, have food for today, and eat, and tomorrow go and hunt again? How then do you survive in such a way where you have to be thinking about what am I going to eat tomorrow? And that is a challenge that a lot of us are facing. And you wonder why we're depressed. You wonder why we have anxieties. You wonder why we have so much anger, and you wonder why we are worrying so much. Because we don't know what tomorrow holds. We have no guarantee of anything. If your salary stops now, it's over. You don't know where to go. And we are saying this at a time when a lot of our people are losing their jobs. Retrenchments are happening everywhere. Companies are closing down. But if you have built an asset for yourself through investing in different things, you can be able to survive for a shorter period while you're finding your feet. You can be able to start something that can replace your income. There are people that I've interviewed before in different platforms who are saying to me, look, when I was working, I disclosed to my employer that I have this business that I'm running. And they said to me, don't spend too much time in that business. Spend much time here. Let somebody else run that business for you. And I disclosed that. And today, I have replaced my employment with my business. Today, I'm earning a salary from my employer, and I'm also earning a salary from my own business. And if anything happens to my job, I know that I'm guaranteed an income that will come out of this. There are people who are staying in cities, but they don't even own a back room in that township where you're staying. They don't have maybe a second property that they're renting out. That is money that a lot of people are making. I know people who lost their jobs, but because they had a rented property that they were renting out to tenants, they were able to continue surviving. But a lot of us are focusing more on luxury things and not focusing on building assets. Go and look at your budget. We talked about that before. That money that is left, that money that is your surplus, sit down and think hard and tell me on the comment section what you're going to do with that money. Because that money must start building wealth for you. And you're not going to build wealth as long as when you think of money, you think of spending. They talk about circulating money, where I get money before it goes out, I go and buy something with that money that I can sell to somebody else, and that somebody will pay me my amount plus profit, and I have made more money out of the money that I have made. And this money can now circulate among us from me to somebody else and another person, and maybe the fourth one, before it goes out of the city. It goes out of the continent. But what is happening right now? Money is moving from your pocket straight to a company overseas. And that money is never going to come back. Because there's nothing you're selling to that company that is overseas. Money is not circulating among yourselves first. And a lot of people that are wealthy indicate that when I get money, I use a little and I take the rest and buy an asset or a product that I can sell, buy a service that I can sell to the next person so that I get more money out of the money that I have in my pocket. And that is where money starts working for you. The question that I must ask you, are you working for your money or is your money working for you? If you're still working for your money, it's time to change and let money work for you. You can make a choice. There are those who are on one side of the coin. On this side sits consumers who get money, go spend it. But on this side is investors who invest in things that the consumers want. And at the end of the day, those who consume a lot and not invest lose money, and those who invest and consume less make money. Let me give you a simple example. In townships and villages back then, and maybe even now, you had one man or one woman who had a shop. In that shop or a supermarket, you could get your bread, tea, butter, and all the essentials that you may need in your house. The whole village will go out and earn money from elsewhere, come back to the village with the money, and all the money will be spent in that shop. When you spend money in that shop, who start owning that money from there? The shop owner. The shop owner don't even have to get out of the village to make money. All he does is to get out of the village to go buy stock. Come back, put the stock there in the shop, and wait for you to bring him money. And all of you in the village bring him money. But what did he buy from you? What services is he buying from you? You sell nothing. All you sell is your time. And when you sell your time, you have a fixed income. But the shop owner did not have a fixed income. And that is why he had more money than you. Because if he can see that the stock is finished in the middle of the month, he can go and buy more stock. And that will not change anything on his side. He's not spending more money. He's just spending what you're buying with. And he will make more profit. Maybe double the amount that he made last month. But your salary is fixed. And when you strike and you want increase, they give you a small percentage. A lot of times we're so excited with 1,000 rands increase for the whole year. And you're so excited, no, yeah, they gave me an increase. Go calculate that increase and divide it by 12, minus tax, and tell me how much your increase is. But the shop owner could make more money within a short space of time. And he doesn't have to wake up and go to work. He works in his own business. That is the difference between us and other nations. And that is why many nations come to our area and do much better than us, because they have mastered the art of investing. Investing in assets that bring money. Right now, you may be sitting in a township, you may be sitting in a village where there's no hair salon. A person from another nation comes and starts a salon. Who is going to go into that salon? All of you in the township, all of you in the village. And that person will just do hair from morning until late. And all of you will be taking money there. But none of you ever thought of having a salon. Instead, because somebody opened a salon, you go and open 10 salons near him. Because you did not want to use your brain and think that I can do this thing. Instead, if I have a salon here, why don't you go and open a shop where you sell hair extensions? So that I can buy braids from you and other things from you to use at the salon. Why don't you open a beauty place where you do makeup and massage people and all that to complement what the salon is doing? When people do hair, most of the time they are going to events. Why don't you provide dresses and suits for events? Because the next door person is doing hair, obviously they will want to shop for that. So these are the kind of mindsets that we must start having. Instead, we have so much time to complain about everything. Investing is about thinking out of the box. Investing is about stopping to think about what is going wrong and starting to think about what may go right. Investing is about believing that we can do better than what we're doing now. And it starts with the mindset. The negative mindset that we have established in us can stop us from even seeing an opportunity that is just in front of us. We are shooting this podcast now. If you watch this podcast, you become a consumer of the information that we're giving you. And when you consume this information, we may end up making money out of this. And that is another way of making money. Why don't you sit in front of your camera and shoot something instead of sitting there the whole day doing nothing? And shoot something that can bring money. Why don't you use the knowledge that you have to create another source of income so that you can be able to invest that money on something else that you love. And the other thing that we have, which is a problem, a lot of people will tell you that I have so much money which is legal and I can't start investing. How can I invest 100 rand? I'd rather spend it. But with that 100 rand, you create a habit where you put money away and you don't use it. You create a habit where you buy small things, sell them, and make 2 rands or 3 rands out of that. And when you start small, you start mastering the business side of things. And through that, you are able to buy bigger things and sell bigger things. I recently posted about a woman who started in a spaza shop. She started with a spaza shop, and when she had a spaza shop, she got an opportunity to supply things using a truck. And she hired a truck and drove it herself. And through that truck, she was able to buy 62 other trucks and making 12 million a month income. I'm not talking about revenue. I'm talking about take home. I'm talking about profit. 12 million a month. Don't you want to make 12 million a month? It was about discipline. It was about believing that you can do it. And that is the difference between those who can't and those who can. And I'm saying to you, my people, investing is about the mindset. The little that you're making, out of your budget that you drew and you made sure that you follow it and you have that little money that you're making, you can take that money and say, here I am, bank. Here I am, investor. I have managed to make 30,000 rands. I want to open a spaza shop. And with this 30,000 rands, I will be able to start, but I won't be able to buy enough stock. All I need from you is for you to invest in my business so that I can have enough to buy stock and pay rent and start my business. And you'll find that there are a lot of investors out there that can be able to help you. But because you always say to yourself, it won't happen. Really, it won't happen. And that is the challenges that we're having. You know, there are times where we say, look, I'd rather stick to what I do and not do other things or invest in other things because I don't want to lose money. Anyway, if you're scared of losing money, you have already lost because you are not going to have money at all anyway. Because what are you scared of losing? Because you don't even have it now. If you have 100 rand and you hide this 100 rand and say, I don't want to lose it, that money will stay 100 rand forever and it will lose value day by day. But the minute you say, I have 100 rand, I'm going to buy sweets, sell these sweets for a 20% profit and have 12 rands. Sorry, 120 rands. And this 120 rand, I'm going to do the same again with it. And then you multiply that money again and again. But there are times where you can say, I don't have much time. I am full-time employed. I have my employer. I want to focus on that. I'm not a business person. Why don't you then invest in vehicles or investments that can allow you to compound your money? In a long term, compounding interest will bring you a lot. You can even make double the money that you invested through compounding interest. What is compounding interest? Compounding interest is different from fixed interest. Because when you compound, whenever you make interest, your interest is added on your capital, which is the main amount that you invested, and the whole amount is invested back. Then, which means you're making interest on top of interest. And that is how you grow your wealth. So it's not only that you should go into the business space, you can also do it without even starting a business. Because there are people out there who can use your money to make money and share with you. Why not? I once spoke to this other gentleman when I was working in the banking space more than 10 years ago and said, if you look around your area, you have burial societies, you have stokvels, you have clubs. All these people, once a month, they come together and invest money. But they have only one way of doing it. They save it on a savings account most of the time. And this savings account may give them 1 to 5% interest per year. And that money is not really making a lot of money out of that. But if you think about it, we have an unemployment rate that is very high. More than 60% of youth in this country are unemployed. I think it's far more than that. Maybe around 60 to 80% are unemployed. Their parents are the ones investing in these clubs and investments, stokvels and all this. And they're not investing for the education of the kids. They may be investing for alcohol at the end of the year. They may be investing to buy Christmas food that they're going to eat and finish, or not even finish and throw away within December month. But they don't think about the generation that is living now. There are people who are putting a lot of money away for burials so that we can have a nice tombstone, and it's not wrong to do that. But why then we don't think of it this way? If investing was the goal, why are we not investing this money on businesses that we are sure that will make money? If a group of stokvels that are around 10 with 100,000 each can come together, these stokvels have 1 million. And if they can take this million and go and buy a franchise, for example, that franchise may make 20 to 30% profit at the end of the year. And 1 million will become 1.2 million at the end of the year. Can you get that money from a savings account? No, you can't. The 200,000 that you make, you invest it back into this franchise, and after 5 years, you have more than 2 million, and you can be able to go and buy another franchise. How many jobs have you created in the process for your own kids? And how much money have you made in the process for yourselves? It is so sad when you find that a burial society buried a lot of people, especially during COVID, and finished all the money before it buried the others. And there's no money to bury the remaining people. Why? Because the money stayed the same over the years. If there was 200,000 in the account, that 200,000 stayed the same, maybe with an extra 100 Rand or 300 Rand a year. And that's what we call investing. I think we should change the way we think. Money is there, but how are we using it? Are we managing our money well, or are we controlled by fear of the unknown? People become scared of things that they don't know. We are not scared of borrowing money, millions and millions of money, but we are so scared of investing money in things that can bring us a lot of money. I'd rather go borrow 100,000 or 1 million to go buy something that is luxury than go and take that 1 million and invest it in a business that I know that I'm going to make money out of. I'd rather take the money that I have and go spend it on things than take that money I have and invest it in a good investment that will yield good returns. And this thinking is the thinking that we should start developing. I said before, you need to create a habit, and it's not something that you can create overnight. Your subconscious mind must be taught that I don't eat and finish because tomorrow I need to eat again. Be like ants or ants. They gather their food during the time when it's warm, because they can walk outside. And there's plenty of food that they have. They gather this food, and when it's winter, they disappear. You don't see them. While they are sitting in their places where they stay and eating their food, because they gathered their food when the time was right. Do the same. Gather when you have an opportunity. And when things go south, you know that you're guaranteed that you're going to survive. No one is guaranteed a job anymore. And it's tough out there. So it's time to wake up and do things right. We cannot continue living like we don't know that there is tomorrow. If a man has 5 cows and Christmas time comes and buyers arrive and say, we want to buy all 5 cows, can he sell all of them and be left with nothing? No, he won't. He will tell you that I'm selling this one, and the other 3, I'm going to keep them so that I can grow my stock or my livestock. And that is exactly how money is treated. You must treat money with respect. You must take care of your money. You must invest your money. And you must not let money be a source of your stress. And that is exactly what I wanted us to cover today. But this is a topic that can be broad. We can just talk about stock markets. We can just talk about how to start a business. We can just talk about how to invest in different investment vehicles. And that is topics on their own. How to buy a franchise, for example. So we will be unpacking all these things as we go. And we want you to continue listening to us. Subscribe to the channel so that you get messages whenever we post something and you are able to listen to us. I'm Chirizi Mavungu from Chirizi Mavungu Financial Literacy Foundation, and this is the Financial Literacy Corner, where all you want to know about money is talked about. And you're at a corner where you're safe to talk about money. On the comment section, tell us about this episode and tell us what you learned and what you're going to change in your life so that you can have a better future for yourself and the generations to come, building wealth for the next generations. Thank you.